Well, I'm sitting outside today. The storms are over. It stormed yesterday. And I am doing the Three Rivers Pantry Challenge this month and maybe next month. We'll see how that goes. Well, I am eating leftovers today, so I don't have anything fresh or new to share with you. I will have to cook tomorrow, but today I'm just eating leftovers and what we've already cooked for the what I've cooked before here. Now, it's been a while since I've shared an Appalachian story with you, so I thought I would just go ahead and talk to you about the Appalachians today. I'm going to try and include in this video a map of the Appalachian area. Sorry, y'all, I might have something on my mouth out here. I'm sitting out here getting what little bit of vitamin D I can get today because it's been so rainy I hadn't been able to get outside, but I'm out here for a minute. The kids are in there watching a movie. We just got through having lunch, so everything's good. And I wanted to talk to you about the Appalachian Mountains. Now, I can only share with you from the area that we're from. I'm from the south central part of Appalachia. We are still in the Appalachian Mountains, just down here in the lowlands, not way up in the mountains like we used to be, like it was when I was growing up. So, I'm still in the Appalachia, just not as deep in it as we once were. Now, I love the Appalachian heritage that I have. I always say Appalachian because that's the correct way to say it. That's where we were raised. And Appalachian, the word Appalachian, comes from a Cherokee word, Appalachie. And what it means is endless mountains. And that's how you feel when you're in the Appalachian Mountains. You feel like the mountains are endless. Now, West Virginia is the only state that's fully in the Appalachian Mountains. The whole state of West Virginia is in the Appalachian Mountains. The other states, they have the Appalachian Mountains within them, but they're not. The whole state is not in the Appalachian Mountains. Now, there are different regions of the Appalachian Mountains. We all have similarities, but there's also differences depending on the region you were in. Now, there is one thing this morning as I was doing my chores, these things came back to me. They mentally in my mind were memories and came back to me today as I was doing my work before the kids got here. And what I was thinking about was the singing. I remember the singing when we were growing up. And it was, it's the singing that comes from the Appalachian Mountain, the Appalachian songs and the way they sang was very unique. It's a very unique sound. If you've never heard Appalachian music, research that and see what comes up. I haven't researched it. I just know from memory. I know especially Mama's family, they were all musical. Now, Mama's family, every one of them, Mama didn't, but every one of the men in her family, and some of the women too, either played the mandolin, the banjo, or the guitar, and then they played other instruments that they made, believe it or not. They made instruments and played them. And music was a big part of their life growing up. Now, I've shared with you before that Mama's family were kind of like sharecroppers, only they did work in crops sometimes, but the majority of what they did was pick fruit trees, nuts, all kinds of trees up there. Their family, there was 10 children in Mama's family, and then they took on one other, so there was 11 children, and then the mom and dad. So there was a big family, and they lived in small houses, what some people would consider to be shacks. But they were home to them, and that a lot of living went on in those little houses on the mountain. But the singing always comes back to me because it's very unique. It's a very unique sound to hear the mountain songs. And whenever I think about them or it comes back to me, it always just touches me. Now, the mountain songs were real twangy. They had the accent, and there was like a sound maybe from a land far away. There was a lot of Scots-Irish, there was a lot of English, and different migrants that migrated to the Appalachian Mountains, and they brought a lot of the old music that they came from with them the style, and they just sang it. Now, there was songs that were common, very, very common, and you would, if you heard them up in the mountains, you would know them. They knew these songs. Now, I was not the singer in our family. My older sister's the singer. Now, my older sister can sing, and she used to be the singer in the family. But I was never considered the singer of the family. I had different talents, and I worked. But I'm going to sing just a little patch of a song to you that comes back from my childhood. Now, I can't sing a lot because, I don't even know. There might not even be any copyrights on that music. It's so old, but there might be. But I'm just going to sing you these few words of it, and I'm going to sing it to you in the way that I would have heard it up in the mountains. And it's the accent and the way that it's sung is just, there's just nothing like mountain music. And I'm just going to sing you these few words just to give you an idea of what these words sounded like. Now, up in the mountains, if you were out there hanging up clothes, or you were out there doing chores, working in the garden, gathering, whatever you were out there doing, gathering, stacking wood, or working, you would hear these voices out in the mountains that would reverberate around the area, and some of them, if it was a sad song, it was so profound that it would really just move you, to hear those people singing those songs. They sang about happiness and good things, and they sang about mainly trials and sorrow and heartache and death. There was a lot of songs about death in the mountains because there was a lot of it going on around there. But real twangy, and this is just putting an Appalachian twist. I'll just sing a few words like of a song that I remember Mama singing. I met a little girl in Knoxville, Tennessee. And of course, there's more to that song, but that's the sounds of mountain singing. That's what you would hear, is that kind of singing. And of course, when a man sang in his his deep voice, that was also a very special song, a very special thing to hear. But they sang with a lot of emotion and a lot of feeling, and they just put their hearts into their songs, and it was like it was healing to them to get out there and just sing. Now, Mama's family, they sang, and now early on, she had uncles, and she had people that actually played when there was a radio up there in the mountains. When there was a radio station, they would go to the radio station and play for the radio station and sometimes sing. There was a lot of gospel music sang because, they hang on to their faith. Their faith was a big deal. Their lives were hard. They worked really hard, and they hung on to their faith and to their gospel songs. But if you took, like today, if you took a modern day song and just added an Appalachian twist to it, it would sound the same way. It's a unique sound, and you can imagine hearing these voices if you were out working. Say if somebody was on the hanging their clothes up on the line, and you were over there stacking wood, and then they started singing. It would just go through the mountains, and it would be very moving and very encouraging in a lot of ways. And I think they sang to just soothe their souls, But Appalachian music is a huge part. Now, when I went to the Appalachian Mountains, there was a whole little write-up about that when my sister and I took our trip up there way into the mountains, and we had a great time, and we drove on the parkway and just absorbed some of the Appalachian views and culture. I'm going to include some of those pictures at the end of this video just to give you an idea. And I'll include that section where they talk about the mountain music. There was a lot of them up there. A lot of men were up there building the railroads. So there was a lot of singing on those railways and a lot of different things. But I'll include that clip at the end of this video if you want to read a little bit about it. Now, in with singing, there was a lot of dancing. There was a dance called clogging, where they clog. There's flat-footing, you know, and that's what we grew up with. You know, you just that's what they called it. You know, get up there and flat foot, you know, and that was a dance. There was stomping, and then when you all got together and everybody was dancing, it was called a jig. You know, everybody did the jig. That makes me laugh to think about that. Those good memories, those simple old things that were wonderful back in the day. Now, there was a lot of singing and dancing, more work than anything. Everybody worked. But there was something called whittling. I'm sure you've heard of it. You know, they would take sticks and they would whittle. Mama's brothers were excellent whittlers. They could whittle out all kinds of things. They would take peach pits and make little baskets out of them and sell them. They had some areas where they could sell those things because tourists loved them. They would whittle out little chairs and little just all kinds of things, you know, little people, and they would sell those, and that was folk art, and it was awesome. They also whittled many, many useful things. If a handle or a little wooden part broke on something, if a knob broke off of your dresser, they could whittle it and put it on there, and it would work. You know, it was an expression of art, a way to make a little money, but it was also very, very useful. And I know back in the day when they portrayed hillbillies, they always made fun of whittling, the sticks in their mouths or overalls and such as that. But the thing about it is those things have a very real meaning, and they served a purpose in the mountain life. And so I remember Mama's brothers whittling out things, all kinds of little things, and just showing them to us, and they were amazing. There were some artists in Mama's family, too. I'm telling you, they're still there. There's some singers. We have one singer. I think her name is Donna Jo Carroll, and she's in our family. You can look up her YouTube page if you'd like, and she's singing, but she is going through some health issues right now. But she is an amazing singer. And then there are other singers and other people that ended up making livings out of their artistic ability that came from the mountains. I've got doing on this list because you had a whole group of people, a whole culture of doing. For instance, I had an uncle who dug his own daughter's grave by hand. He dug her grave by hand. They were doers. They were they took care of themselves. They took care of themselves and their families. They farmed. They gardened. They built. They created. They did what they needed to do. They preserved. They worked really hard, and they did what they needed to do to take care of themselves, their families, and people around them. And they didn't ask for help very much. They were very independent. But if they ever needed help, they didn't have to ask for help because it was an area back then where people knew everybody in the mountains, and there was help if you needed it, but there was mountain justice too, and that's a whole different story. I don't even like to go down that avenue because it's some terrifying things that can happen when men feel like they have to take care of their own families, and they put those things in their own hands. And up there, you were so, you were so remote and cut off from so much that, you had to be self-sufficient. You had to learn to take care of yourself. And so that's a lot of stuff I remember growing up. But I wanted to share with you today these little things. I just wanted to share with you some of my thoughts. They were coming to me today as I was getting up this morning and accessing all of the things that I had to do today to take care of business around the house here. I had memories just flooding back to me. I'm not sure why. But I wanted to share them with you because, part of this channel is lifestyle. And the lifestyle I have here is family, oriented, self-sufficient Appalachian lifestyle. That's what I live, even though I'm in the city. And I'm still in the Appalachians, but I'm right on the edge of it. So I'm not deep in the Appalachian Mountains where my mama grew up and where we were raised, where we went back to and we visited family. And it was the familiar surroundings to me was those Appalachian Mountains. Now, of course, those mountains are changing, just like everything in the world changes. But there's still places you can go that hasn't changed a bit. They're the same, and they've been the same for a lot of centuries. A lot of people call them poor because they didn't have the riches that the city had. The city life offered. A lot of people called it poor and not much to offer. And I watched some shows on Appalachian, and it just blows me away of how the outside world looked at Appalachians. If you were in Appalachians, they were the wealthiest, most resourceful, knowledgeable people that I've ever met. I mean, it is amazing, at the knowledge, the self-sufficiency, the abilities that they had was truly, truly amazing. I feel that way about my family now. In the past, being younger, I didn't realize that not everybody grew up that way. Not everybody had those skills, that knowledge. And I am really, as I think back and the way those people were and the things that they did, I'm always amazed at the things that they went through and how they made them through it. And there were good things and there were some bad things too. But, that's in every family, isn't it? I mean, every culture. But it was wonderful. And I have wonderful memories. And sometimes I'm just so taken back by those Appalachian memories. And being older, understanding more than I've ever understood about why they did what they did. And how, and amazed at how they made it. The men could fix any vehicle. They could fix any tractor or any kind of equipment they needed. They could tear it down and build it back. This is in the days before technology, so these men were amazing. I look back now and I think how amazing, right? And then the women themselves were amazing. They were always clean. Life was hard. They had old wood stoves, coal stoves, and they were cooking on these wood stoves and coal stoves. And yet everything in their house stayed so clean because they actually got in there and scrubbed it and kept it clean. And it was just amazing to think back. And I think back to the family that we would go and visit, the families and other extended family. And they just had shacks, but when you went in them, they felt like home. They were amazing. It was just amazing at how much living went on in those shacks. And I don't feel like they were poor at all. Looking back now, they didn't have a lot of material things that other people think are valuable, but they had a lot of valuable living. They had a lot of valuable morals and connections and understanding and genuine mindful living. And that is a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing to be a part of that. I wanted to share with y'all about it today. That music just kept coming back to me all day. I had to run and just do a few errands this morning, and as I was traveling, I don't know if it's the weather the time of the year, I'm not sure what it is, but there was just something about today that brought back all those old songs. I could remember all those old songs and Mama's family, Mama singing, her sister singing, and the songs they'd sing to us when we were little. We were knee high and they would just sing and they would just sing in that unique Appalachian mountain twang, and it's just it just takes me back. But today I found myself in the car as I was running errands singing those old songs and just enjoying them and realizing the value and the beauty in those old songs and the way they were sang. It was just something wonderful that I remembered today. I thought I'd share it with you. I hope that you found value in this video. It's getting cold out here. My nose is getting cold. I'm going to have to go inside and check on these youngins. And get started on some chores I got to do myself sitting out here. It's not too cold out here. I'm thinking it's probably about maybe 40 degrees, 37 to 40 degrees. So it's not like it's freezing, but it's getting a little chilly out here without a coat. My nose is getting red. I'm going to include some pictures here at the end of this video. You can look back on and kind of connect with what I'm sharing my story with you today about. And if you are interested, you can just research Appalachian music. You can research more on Appalachia and find out what I'm talking about there. It'll probably give you much better examples. I'm not really, I sing to myself and everything, but I'm not really a singer. But I enjoy singing those old songs because it didn't matter. It didn't matter how your voice sounded. What mattered was how your heart felt. The singing brought out healing. It brought soothing. It brought soothing to yourself and soothing to other people just to sing those songs in the way that only music can, right? Thank you for joining me today. It was a pleasure to share things with you. I'm glad that you came here and gave me the time of the day, and I'm glad that you are interested. I hope you stick around. There's a lot on this channel. The only niche I have on this channel is me. That's the only thing I have in common, but I try to share with you lifestyle, which is including the Appalachian lifestyle, budget friendly, always budget friendly because I have to be, and home and garden. So those are the things that I'm passionate about in life, and I try to share with you as much as I can. Thank you for joining me today. And like always, until next time.